So what else are we losing? Arrow Whistler, meh. Blistering Scorn, that is a big deal. Magma are getting their own version. It's a 2/4 for 3 with the same effect. So it's slightly worse than Old Scorn, which says a lot about Blistering Scorn. It's worse and a class card from the pre-nerf version. But that's fine. I think that's... It's nice to know that there's some card carrying on its legacy, and in the faction that has like synergy with it. Much better Dark Transformation because it's an actual transform. Oh yeah, I know, don't worry. But like, there's plenty of room above Dark Transformation, and it can afford it because Vet have terrible removal, whereas Abyssians have tons of mostly inefficient removal, but they have tons. They have lots of removal that can work across any distance, whereas Vet like, oh, you have to be adjacent to me. Of course, even that's kind of with Sandswirl Reader now, but especially when Blood of Air was made, Vet had trash removal, and eventually Sandswirl will rotate and Thunderhorn will rotate and Sanity will return. Dark Transformation procs Deathwatch, it does. That's true. I really like for Vet to have a good range removal, but BOA is just overtuned. The fact that the minion has Rush is way too omni-versatile. I do agree. I think it would be nice if they made it an Iron Dervish instead. But you know, maybe they'll do that, maybe they won't. It doesn't. Maybe they'll make it 6 mana, but then it'll be trash. I'm okay with it being a transformation though. I think it's important to have some safety valves for cards like, you know, your Reaper of the Nine Moons and Vorpal Reavers and stuff. Whether there's currently too many is kind of another subject up for discussion, but yeah, I think Blood of Air is overtuned. I think that's the right way of putting it. It's just like slightly too good to be a core set card, but we'll see. If it does turn out to be oppressive, they can always nerf it. With Vet on the top of the pile right now, I wouldn't be massively surprised to see some nerfs in the next set, or at least some good counters to them. But we might see the meta shift completely. Like, with, you know, if Obelisk Vet is really popular, then Plasma Storm gets better, and so on. Daywatcher, meh. Sandburr on the hand, no one cares. Chakram, that makes me slightly sad, but I've never actually played it, so that's fine. That's probably fair enough. Same with Prophet of the White Palm. Sunsteel Defender I will miss very deeply, because that card is awesome and has been a key part of a lot of my decks, especially, you guys know I love Keep of Earth. Sunsteel is very, very important in Keep of Earth. One of the more important cards in the deck, so it's going to be sad. Like, the deck will be playable without it, but there's nothing like having a minion that can go face every turn or trade with small things every turn. That really, really helps with Keep of Earth's overall game plan. Tethermancer, no one cares. Windrunner, I tried playing this on ladder, it's not very good. Dankheart is a bit sad. Duelyst is very sad. Again, same reason as Sunsteel Defender. Like, this card is cool. I think it's one of the more interesting designs in the game. I think it has neat synergy with a few different things. Maybe, you know, again, maybe too much, but has a lot. You'll miss Chakram, Fran? Really? That's interesting. Like, how much time have you spent with the card? Because I think it's a really cool design, but I've genuinely never played it. Lux Ignis, no one cares. Mogwai, sad times. Night Watcher, not very relevant anymore, but that card is good. Oh, that would be so good against Kanunka as well. Damn, that's sad that that's going. That would be some interesting counterplay. What do you play it in, Chakram? Like mid-range decks or several, whatever. The Scientist. That makes me sad actually. That card is really cool. I guess like some of the cards that are just like streamers that have long since stopped playing the game, so it seems weird to have them named on cards. It's always a risk, I guess. Alter Rex, meh. Astral Crusader, the memes. Eclipse, card sucks. And, well, no, it sucks. Envy Bear, yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anyone play that. Exune, that makes me sad. I like Exune. Exune is fun. Rook, sucks. Ruby Rifter, like the actual saddest one. Like, I don't play this card as often as I prefer, but that's partly because it's so unpopular that I just keep forgetting it exists and not playing it in my decks. I think Ruby Rift is hella strong and a really cool card for control and mid-range decks. I used it in the cast of a mid-range deck that I gave you in Swarm Lilith. Oh, is it actually in there? I didn't notice. That's funny. I missed the streamer himself. Yeah, Scientist was cool. My first net deck was based on, well, based on, more or less was, apart from a couple of cards I didn't own, was a deck from the Scientist. And Zenri, which has been replaced with Grapnel Paradigm for the most part. I'm okay with Zenri being a class card. I meant Mogwai. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, Mogwai's a cool guy. He plays Gwent now, I think. If you're missing him. Gwent did something else that I can't remember offhand. Yeah, it does seem like there's going to be a big hole in the world of 4-drops here. What have we got instead? Oops. That's what I want. 4-drop minions. Wow, I've totally forgot this card existed. If like someone could show this to me as a spoiler from the new set, I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that's playable. Sunriser is already... Well, Sunriser is niche, but she already sees play. Is War Adjudicator the sort of card that would be a generic 4-drop? It's pretty good. Suntide Maiden as well. Flame Wreath for the decks that wants it. This card is awesome, actually. Tenketsu. It's a bit slow, but like, it's really strong. Trigon Obelisk. Baron Shrike. I don't know, maybe it's expected to like make some of these cards see a bit more play. Sorry if you can hear a rattling in the background, by the way. That's my hamster busying himself. Wasteland Wraith. Potentially. Abyssians are basically sorted because we have Dezo, Cacophonous, Juggernaut, as well as the neutrals. Tagete could come back, actually. People do still play her. You could play Elucidator. Don't. It sucks. You could play Drogon, but it's not very good on turn 4. Progenitor's quite strong. They could buff Veteran Silithar again. This card's pretty good, actually. This guy... That thing is quite big, I suppose.
Hey.
Hello. I don't think there's really anything that provides the same level of like just raw sticking power or trading power that Duelyst and Sunsteel did. I mean, maybe that's the point. Maybe there was just a bit too much, but there's quite a few 4/5s with marginal lines of text. There's obviously good old Hailstone Golem. You can definitely play this guy in Golem decks. There's Primus Shieldmaster. There's Albeast Sage. You can like warp your deck to play Albeast. Purgatos. It's not really sticking power, but he's quite scary. The thing about 4-drops as Duelyst and Sunsteel is how reliable they were. If you're lacking 4-drops, you don't need to think much. That's very true, and it did make... There's always been a lot of competition for that slot. And there are probably decks where, you know, if you air quotes, ban the strong generic 4-drops, then it opens up other options, like you're saying. Like, maybe we'll play Primus again. I would be happy with that, because this card is really good. Magma will probably play the 4-cost 7/6. I agree. I think that is mostly meta-dependent, unless you're playing Starhorn, in which case it's great. But I do think they'll play it. I think it's pretty strong. TFW, I play Elucidator. Don't worry, you're not a bad person for playing Elucidator. I have this like potentially irrational personal crusade against the card. Is Mind Warper just like the sort of card you just want? Like, I think Mind Warper is quite good. It's small is the only problem, but it does most of the time draw a card. And it's kind of cool to get other people's spells because it gives you options you didn't otherwise have access to. Silhouette Tracer is pretty solid, actually. Good old Spelljammer. I'm so glad Sphinx is sticking around, because I'm going to meme the hell out of this with Haruspex. Ulquion, if you want more card draw. Sanguinar, I suppose. Actually, to be fair, there are some decks where this is probably good. Like Sanguinar with River or Zirix. Like, you know, you just... Or Kara. Just get a 6/5. No questions asked. Like a 6/5 for 4, that's really good, right? Yeah. Yeah, maybe just jam Sanguinar. Maybe that gets there. I tried to play Sanguinar with Kara. You're not the only one. I think Alpha Century made a deck like that. Razor Crag Golem. That would be hilarious. Don't do that though, it does to Phoenix Fire. You know what, actually, one advantage of them banning Duelyst and Sunsteel is, like, those cards are old, so their animations are way less interesting than the new ones. Like, even, look at this thing, this sweet animation. How does Sanguinar interact with Bloodbound Mentor? Ooh, very, very well. You can do that on curve like a boss. Do you draw 0 mana BBS? I would guess no, but I've obviously never tried it. That seems like a good idea, though. Like, Mentor into Sanguinar as a curve is, like, pretty strong. Obviously Thunderhorn. Okay, so it turns out there's actually more options than I'd previously appreciated, possibly because, you know, I just play Sunsteel Defender without thinking, but... I tried a Sanguinar / Grailmaster Lilith meme. Did it work? That sounds hilarious. Didn't work that well. Oh, okay. Sad face. Is Sphinx the sort of card you just generally want? Like... So... You're playing a tempo deck or like a mid-range deck with an aggressive slant. Is a card that either forces your opponent to waste 2 mana or forces your opponent to not have to replace and therefore have a crappy hand. Is that worth it? By itself? I was quite impressed with the card when I played it in Starhorn. Might be interesting. It's probably not good enough. Like the 5/4 body is okay, but the reason I don't like Elucidator is it's a 5/4. So, although it doesn't hit you for 4, 5/4 that doesn't have rush is not going to be shaking the world. I think I'm going to test Primus. If I should probably try Elena again, and I'll try it with Primus. And she's going to suffer a little bit from losing Aspect of Shrimbazaar, but not too much. You can still play the other aspects. Yeah, so we're probably actually going to be okay without... We might just have to get a little bit more creative, which I guess is the idea. For our kind of other 4-drop alongside Mr. T. Night Watcher is also one of my saddest losses. Yeah, especially as it would have quite an interesting position in the metagame as well. Like, if... I don't know if it affects minions coming out of eggs. I don't think it does, but certainly if Obelisk Vet's going to get more popular, you know, Night Watcher beats the pants off them. So it's really nice, and it's very good against Kanumka. The card just doesn't do anything.